you who don't know, my name is Colleen Clark and I'm the CEO of the Greater Langley Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our August dinner meeting virtually. We thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules and one of the beautiful hot days of summer to join us this evening. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are gathered on the unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples. And I say that instead of being specific because I don't know where all of you are sitting right now, but I'm assuming it's in the Lower Mainland. I would like to acknowledge our sponsor this evening is Nico's Backs to Wax Supply Limited, and we will have them do a quick update in a little bit. I'm now going to take this opportunity to introduce our board members, VIPs, and our team members attending this evening. So if you could just give a little wave, if you are savvy enough on Zoom to use your actual wave on Zoom, please do. But if not, the old natural works as well. It is my pleasure to introduce President of the Chamber of Commerce, Brad Kendall, Ashdown Capital. You'll be hearing from him again shortly. Vice President Ken Dennis, Dennis Network of Companies. Community Director for South Langley, Allison Colleen, CBM Lawyers. Community Director for the City of Langley, Jenny Hinch with Lucid Water. Community Director for North Langley, Frank Buckholtz. Community Director for Aldergrove, Michelle Burrows with the Aldergrove Credit Union. Our Director, Joanne Saunders with KPU. Our Director, Brody McIntosh of Bromac Mechanical, and our brand new and welcome to the Chamber Board Director, Sean Howe with MNP LLP. On to our VIPs this evening. I would like to acknowledge that sitting on the call this evening is Councillor Rosemary Wallace with the City of Langley. And just in case people are on here with their phone numbers, originally Mayor Val Vandenbroek was signing on, and also Councillor Rudy Stortenboom from the City of Langley, both of them, so thank them for their time. Our team members joining us this evening are our Director of Member Relations, Christy Meyer, and our Events Coordinator, Sumner McCauley. So I'm going to share my screen and give you a quick update as to what the Chamber's up to, a quick report. So again, thank you to our sponsors this evening. Oh, my face, just whatever it needs. So just a quick note that it's last call for our golf tournament. If you've not signed up yet to golf, last call's tomorrow. So by end of business day tomorrow, if you're interested in golfing, please reach out to somebody here at the office and we'll take care of you getting you registered. I want to thank you very much for those of you who are participating in our virtual events. It's not, we've all would rather be in person sharing a beverage and having some dinner, but this is where we're at right now. So we want to thank you very much for taking the time to sign in. And also for those of you that are supporting us with actually paying through our virtual events for our Pay As You Can program. So we really appreciate your support with that. It is my pleasure, and Brad's going to go into this in a little bit more detail, to announce that our nominations are now open for our 2020 Business Excellence Awards. We've changed things up to reflect the current times. We got new award categories, an online event celebrating the best of our community, and what we really want to hear are the fabulous stories that have happened over the last few months. Let's look at all the positives and the insights that have happened, and let's share those instead of focusing on the negative with this. We're going to look at really the positive impacts that people have had on their businesses and in our community. And on an upscale note, our 89th annual general meeting takes place on Tuesday, September 15th. Our keynote speaker is Frank Supovitz. He's the president and CEO of Fast Track Events and Entertainment. He is the former senior vice president of events for the NFL. He's worked for the NHL, Radio City Music Hall. He has 3 decades of managing high-profile challenges while serving as the senior executive in charge of those events. He's going to provide a framework and available takeaways from his entertaining and informative multimedia presentation. And the title of the presentation is What to Do When Things Go Wrong. He was the vice president of events for the NHL when the Super Bowl went dark. It went completely blacked out on him. And so he's going to give you some tips of how not to panic in those situations. He's a fabulous speaker. I had the pleasure of seeing him about a year or so ago. So if you can, please join us for our September dinner meeting. So I'm actually going to now pivot over to introduce Karen Kowick, who I believe is on the phone, from Nico's Wax to Wax Supplies Limited. She's the sponsor of the month, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank her for two things. One, helping our office get set up with all of our PPP and everything that we needed to get back in operation. She was fabulous and took care of us. And number two, for coming out and being a sponsor of the month in August to virtual dinner meetings. We really, really appreciate the support of our sponsors right now more than ever, knowing that everybody's facing the same challenges we are. So Karen, over to you if you want to unmute for a moment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for this opportunity. And Nico's has been in Langley for 29 years. We have been in business for 45. We serve the whole Lower Mainland with all our cleaning supplies. We do deliveries. We are open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
We're getting some feedback. Sorry to interrupt. We're getting feedback. I don't know if you've got another like a phone and a computer on or something, but it's echoing.
No. Let's see. Oh, that's bad.
It could be on speakerphone.
I'm on my phone.
Is your phone on speaker, or are you using your to your ear?
It's on speaker.
You're muted, Colleen.
I'm muted because I'm being, yeah. So Karen has also given us a fantastic video that'll be going out in an email tomorrow that shows you everything they've got in store. We'll also be sharing it on our social media. So please take a look at that video and find out. And if you need anything for your office supply, cleaning purposes, janitorial, anything, Nico's is a fabulous setup and they do deliver as she's mentioned. So please check them out. And I'm going to now turn it over and introduce you to Christy Meyer, Director of Member Relations, to give the membership report.
It would work if I unmuted myself. There we go. Good evening, Chamber members and guests. It is my pleasure to present the membership report this evening. The purpose of this report is to recognize new members and, of course, to request your approval to accept these new members into the Greater Langley Chamber of Commerce. Before I introduce the new members, I'd like to advise you of the applicants who are unable to attend this evening. CMP Wholesale, Dan MacArthur, Realtor, Opal Physiotherapy, Bushido Enterprises Ltd, Orion Labs Inc., and Prometheus Private Advisory Group. And now I will introduce the members that are with us on this call tonight. Sandler Training, Howarth Project Management, and Voice for the Horse Canada Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have a motion to accept the new applicants into this membership? It's a little hard on video. If someone can unmute and just say their name.
Allison.
Thanks, Allison. Seconder, please.
I got it, Jenny and Allie.
Oh, awesome. Great. Thank you, everyone.
So my cue.
That's what I was just going to say. And now it's my pleasure to introduce President Brad Kendall.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks again for everybody for joining. I know it's a little unconventional with the Zoom as opposed to in person, and it's nice to see so many faces, new faces, and ones that I've met before. And then also thanks to all our sponsors over the last number of months for the continued support from all the sponsors. And Karen, I'm not sure if we lost you with that technical glitch, but thanks again for sponsoring tonight's online event. As Colleen mentioned, our 89th annual general meeting is coming up. That's crazy when you think about it, 89. On September 15th, we are accepting nominations for the board as well. I'm not sure, do you have on hand, Colleen, how many spots are up for, 3 spots up for nomination? So if you yourselves, or if you know somebody that you think would be a good fit for the board, either reach out to myself, Colleen, or any of the existing directors or staff members. And there's also nomination forms online. It's a pretty simple process to go through, and we're always looking to add good people to the team to help lead the organization. So thanks for that. And then shortly following that, our 2020 Business Excellence Awards, as Colleen mentioned, is coming up. And as she mentioned, we've rejigged the award categories. So this year, the 6 categories will be Outstanding Support, Most Innovative Excellence in Collaboration, Frontline Hero, Inspirational Leader, and Employer of the Year. So we're hoping that, yeah, like Colleen mentioned, we get a lot of good nominations, and we get to hear some of the real cool stories that have come out of the unfortunate pandemic that everybody's running through. So if you're looking to nominate somebody for that, check out the website as well. And then we look forward to hopefully seeing everybody there virtually this year. Again, it'll be different this year, but I think it'll be fun. We are actively working as a chamber with the BC Chamber and Canadian Chamber to make sure that the business and economy are at the forefront as we reopen the economy and work towards the new normal. We are very proud to announce that Colleen Clark, our CEO, has been appointed to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce Council for Women's Advocacy. So I think that's absolutely awesome to have somebody local here representing us, and congrats on that, Colleen. The CWA was created to be a unified national voice of the business community as part of the Canadian Chamber's diversity and inclusion framework. You can check our feeds and online website and everything for more information from the council's work moving forward. And now I'd like to take a minute to introduce our guest speaker for today. I was lucky enough to be in the same breakout room. We didn't give her the trivia there because, you know, we figured we'd hear enough or get the full scoop from her in the full group. But Margaret is a passionate coach, etiquette consultant, and award-winning businesswoman who evokes clarity, creativity, and confidence in those around her. With over 30 years of practical business experience, Margaret is known for her work with business owners ranging from the very new to the very powerful and mighty. She delivers unique and inspiring guidance to help her clients harness success and step into their potential. Her presentation, Leading in Difficult Times, which is right on cue with where we're at today, is based on hard-won experience. She's weathered the ups and downs of the oil industry for 2 decades, a feast or famine stretch of time in Las Vegas after 9/11, which would be interesting to hear about, and is now, like everybody else, navigating the global pandemic. So please join me in welcoming Margaret. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you so much, Brad. You know, if I was to have told you back in January that you would be wearing a mask this year, doing a COVID dance as you walk down the street, and that you would wash your hands more frequently in the first 6 months of this year than the last 5 years, you probably would have thought I was a little bit wacko. But that's certainly the way our world has shaped out to be very different and unfamiliar with what we had experienced up to this particular time. In January, I happened to have the honor and the privilege of mentoring someone in Shanghai, China. So I had a very firsthand knowledge of what was going on in Wuhan and how they began handling the pandemic there and the virus in China. In spite of that, in March, that this pandemic was looming around China and certainly around the globe, I headed off to board meetings in Denver, Colorado. And while I was there, there were board members flying in from all over the world, and before we knew it, Europe had been closed off. People couldn't come there. Other board members were being called home from South Africa. So part of us were there in person, part of us were online in the Zoom meetings. As I left the board executive meetings after 8 days of deliberation and making sure that our members were safe around the world, and for those that don't know, I serve on the board of Toastmasters International, and so our primary concern was to ensure that our members were safe. And how could we do that? Because we're an organization that teaches public speaking and communication and leadership skills. And we met on premise, on site. And now that was being left around the world where countries had determined that would be no longer possible. So we made some very good decisions at that board meeting, but as we left the hotel, things started closing down. The night before my flight was to leave, The restaurant indicated there'd be no food in the morning. I could order it, I could come down and get it, but they wouldn't be serving it. So that morning I went down and I got 2 fried eggs in a cardboard box. This was very unfamiliar to me of the way a service would be in a high-end hotel. When my driver came for me, he wiped off the handles of my suitcase, wiped off the door handles, got me in the car, and as he went to the steering wheel, wiped off the steering wheel. Very unfamiliar to me at that time. As I took the flight home, the person in the seat across from me asked for a blanket, took it off, asked for a blanket, and of course, you know what was going through my head. She has a fever. When someone coughed or sneezed on the plane, we all had this immediate reaction. And so when I came home, I was forced into 2 weeks quarantine. Luckily, I was happy. I was thrilled to be in quarantine. I think all of us, anyone I had coached in the last few years, and I'm sure all of you could attest to the same thing, what you had been asking for was more time to do the things that you wanted to do to accomplish. If you're a business owner or an A-type personality, we're all looking for more time. And all of a sudden, I saw this as a silver lining, that I would have more time to catch up and do some of the things that I had wanted to do. A week into quarantine, it was my birthday, and my doorbell rang that afternoon. I wondered, who could that be and what should I do? Should I open the door? What should I do? I have glass panels around the front of my door. And so I peeked out at the glass panel, and on the other side of the door was my daughter and my 3 grandsons. And they were there singing me happy birthday, and they had brought a cake and left it. I have a table and chair just outside my door. And there they were singing happy birthday, and I put my lips up against the window and my hands, and my 2 grandsons matched me lip to lip on either side and matched our hands. But my 1 grandson kept hovering behind his mother. And as they continued to sing the song, Happy Birthday, I kept trying to catch his eyes and see if I could make eye contact with him. And near the end of the song, I finally made eye contact with him as he peeked out from behind his mother. And all I could see was sheer fear. Fear. Grandma is dangerous. We're told we can't go inside. Here was this young man in grade 2 who all of a sudden had been sent home from school, can't meet with his friends, can't go out to play, and where he felt love and connection and safety was all of a sudden a danger. I went into an absolute tailspin of emotion. I'm sure all of you in this room had the same thing, in that you too felt that moment of what John Maxwell calls a leadership splat. And if you've been in business for a while or a leader in any area, you too have had a splat somewhere. The difference is with the splat that we are having here this time is that we are all splatting together, where normally you would go on and ask your friends to help you. That was no longer possible. That because they were in the same splat mode as you. So there I was on this roller coaster of negative emotion, and I realized that I had to do something to get out of it. I had to do a reset of some kind, because you can't stay there and accomplish anything. You need to move forward. You need to get yourself out of that spot. And so just like our computers or just like our typewriters, I had to do a Control, Alt, Delete. What could I control? And I'd already made global decisions, what hundreds of thousands of people would be doing this year. And so those were things that we could control, and we made it as a board. We made those decisions. We did the best that we could for our members around the world. But when it came to me personally, I really struggled. What could I control? What were my alternatives? And what did I need to delete? And that's what I would like to speak to you about today, about you personally in difficult times being a leader. What is it that you can control, and how do you get through this for the next time something like this happens and we begin to again have another defining moment where you will begin to shape yourself. And that's what defining moments do. Often in life, we have that internal that we want to change who we are, and we come up against something, we set a goal, we create a strategy, and we change the external world. But in this particular case, the external world changed, and we needed to change internally. And so these are defining moments that the environment that we're in, defining who we become and how we come out of this and manage. And so it's so important that we take care of ourselves and our self-care. Now you're going to be hearing at your AGN from the gentleman to what to do about things go wrong, and that I'm sure will be about your business. But today I want to talk to you about what you can do for yourself. Now, as I mentioned, we've had this collective splat. So in times where you would have saw the business beside you was doing so well, or that your friend over there was doing well and you could lean on them, we were all having this collective splat. And some of us are still having that splat. And so how do we get out of it? When we find that employees, oh my goodness, I'm going to stop here for a moment because I've got the wrong slide deck up. My sincere apologies here. Let me get the right slide deck. I was wondering why things were going wrong. Brad and Colleen for covering there for me, and my apologies that I had the wrong slide deck up. I was wondering what was going wrong there. So I may have to backtrack a little bit. But what we found is that employees all over the globe, there is no separation when you had to work from at home. There was no separation between work and your home life. You had kids coming in asking for food. You had to be teaching your kids how to get online classes. You had to be preparing meals, and yet had to be responding to the business's needs. So what we're in a situation now where employees have been very, very overworked and are struggling, emotionally struggling because of the demands on them. We have 2.5 times the amount of concern about being unemployed than we've had in decades. And so not only are they worried about accomplishing the work they have to do and everything they need to do at home, but they're also concerned, if I don't, will I lose my job? So the amount of pressure and the amount of tension on employees right now is vast. And we have the added of customers that are angry and unhappy. In fact, we find that the escalation in the amount of difficult calls, where we would rate before that about 10% of calls to customer service were difficult. Now there's 20% of calls are very difficult. I found myself phoning TELUS one day because I discovered I was being billed for an iPad cell number that I had given up many years ago. And all of a sudden I was doing the accounting because my accountant couldn't come into my home, and I noticed this small $5 charge. when I tried to get that cleared off, the gentleman was being very kind and said, but don't let this happen again, which totally blew my fuse. And I don't normally get angry at those kind of things, but customers, because we've been in this collective splat, customers are demanding more from us than they ever had before. And when we have employees that are overworked, how do we manage this all? Well, of course, we need to take care of ourselves, don't we? We need to do the Control, Alt, Delete. So self-care is so important at this time. Now, I'm sure all of you, there isn't a person on this call that hasn't known about self-care, that you need to put on your oxygen mask on yourself first. But what does that mean to you? So let me open it up for what does that mean to you? What does self-care mean to you? Anyone?
We heard a few in our breakout room talking about drinking water instead of wine.
Drinking water instead of wine. Good.
Taking time for yourself, making sure that you've got some balance going on, because you can't lead or do what you need to do if you're not centered yourself.
Good. Anyone else?
I would say exercising and journaling.
Exercising and journaling. All right, good. Well, thank you for those shares there. I would like for you to think about self-care in these particular categories, absolutely for sure. Sleep, we've learned in the last 5 or 6 years, is more important than ever before in determining how good decisions we make and how effective we are in the workforce. Arianna Huffington has led the charge on this, and with her Thrival movement, particularly brought on because of her overwork. She hit her head on her desk and changed her entire life. She left the Huffington Press, and we see an entourage of sleep businesses being created specifically to help people with their sleep. So I'd like you to put in the chat, because I know you're not a group that likes to speak up very much, how many hours of sleep you think you need to get by, and then we'll have a look at that. Exercise is our next piece of self-care that we absolutely must do. Now, I have to tell you, I've been exercising 3 or 4 times a week for probably 20 years. But what I discovered when I had my splat with all my friends and I needed to Control, Alt, Delete 3 to 4 times was not enough. I now exercise an hour and a half a day just to keep my emotions where they need to be. And in the coaching field, many times, the very first thing that we get people to do, move your physiology, change the way you're sitting, you're moving, get the person to stand up. In negotiations, it'll be the same way. If you're not able to match or come to some kind of negotiation agreement, you will take them for a walk, go get a glass of water, open the door. So movement is so very important in changing your reflection or where you are at this particular time. And all you have to do is give that a try yourself to figure out that that's beneficial. Even kids in school now, they're having moving meetings, or they aren't now, but they were a year ago. They were giving them a problem to solve, and they had to walk around the halls in school to solve the problem, because that's how beneficial movement is. So go ahead and put in the chat how much time you think you need to exercise. And the third piece that I believe, what I call is self-care, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the journaling in a moment, but is your inner compass. It's, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, whether it's walking out in the woods somewhere, all those things are so significant and very much needed for what we do. So let me ask you, how often do you think you need that inner compass, that magnetic north, that spiritual portion of your life? Go ahead and put that in the chat on how often you think you need to do that per week. Now I'm just going to have a quick look. 6 hours minimum per week is some exercise, 3 to 4 days. 8 hours for Joanne. This is sleep. 6 to 8 hours, 6 to 8. All right. Exercise an hour a day, dog walking. Good. Okay. Well, if you find that you're still in an emotional negativity, oh, just a minute, let me go back, that you need to ensure that you up those levels, whatever it is. And the way we can handle that as leaders is to schedule everything first, to schedule your sleep time. I have a mentor from Sri Lanka, a philanthropist from Sri Lanka, and he programmed my phone so that I have no calls come in at 11 till 5 a.m. in the morning, no notification, no calls. You need to schedule your life. So schedule your sleep, schedule your exercise, schedule your inner compass time, those things you do for yourself so you can have the mental clarity to make those decisions. Now, I know what many of you have said because I've said the same thing. Start on Monday. I'll start on Monday. I'll start on Monday. No, the best place to take action is immediately when you make a decision to do something. The closer the action comes to making that decision, the more effective it'll be. The less effective it is if you say, wait till Monday. So when you determine how much sleep you need, make sure you schedule that. You go to bed at that time, you turn off the lights, you do all the things. There's lots of strategies, lots of businesses can give you. We're just here a short time, so I can't give you all those specifics, but the exercise as well. Schedule that into your schedule and your compass time when you're connecting with yourself. Then you schedule your work. First, schedule your self-care time, because otherwise you know what'll happen. You'll try to find those bits and pieces and you will not be the priority. And if you haven't put your oxygen mask on, you won't be able to help people, particularly in this critical time. And then we have what I call the piece, in addition to self-care, is what makes my life work. Now, each of us has something that makes our life work. In fact, some of you have 2 or 3. I had clients this year that said to me, I have no family time anymore. I have no social time anymore because of COVID and because of quarantine. These are things I have discovered I need in my life in order for me to function well. For me, I need to grow and I need to take lessons on something. So I need to see progressions in something. I need to take classes on something. And so what I've discovered is that I have to book those out. Now, my sister journals, and if she doesn't journal, her life falls upside down. She doesn't accomplish as much. But you need to discover what it is that makes your life work, and don't just let it happen by chance. You need to ensure that you schedule those pieces in. But who here knows what are the pieces that make their life work? And if you could put that in the chat, I'd appreciate it. And then we can talk about that. All right. But we have a gratitude gap around the world. And just so you know, the gratitude, acknowledging your gratitudes is the most successful coaching strategy ever. And it was sent out in the marketplace or in the world by Oprah, and she encouraged everyone to at daily, either in the morning or at night, catalog 3 things that you were grateful for in the world. But in the workplace, there is this huge gap between what employees say and to what bosses and employers say. And so employees this is of course American research, we don't have as much in Canadian research, but 65% of employees say they received no gratitude last year, 0 gratitude. And yet we have an employer rate that equally as much, 70% say they express gratitude. So we have a big gratitude gap here. And 4 out of 5 employees report they would work harder if their boss appreciated them. And of course, now with them having to work harder, we need to appreciate them more. But the good thing about this is some research that was done at UBC, we feel better when we give. And so I encourage you not to be a gratitude Grinch. This is part of your self-care. The more gracious you are to others, the better that you will feel. And so what are the things that you can be grateful about? So if you've done the Oprah thing, 3 things you've written down, and there's apps on that I could recommend. But now it's not the internal gratitude. Now it's how do you express gratitude to your staff? And there's things you can do. I want you to focus on grit and grace. So it's not only the performance, those that are on sales and quotas and those kind of challenges, as they're not meeting their quota, how do you acknowledge them? Well, you acknowledge them as far as the grit that they've put into the work, their dedication and commitment, and grace, how effectively they've been doing. They may not get the results, but we still need to acknowledge. A number of years ago, a study was done in Canada, and this was pertaining to students, that Canada, out of all the G7 countries, ranked the lowest as far as acknowledging their children for accomplishments. We're a little bit of a conservative nation, a conservative country, and so we're not as expressive as this, but we need to be even more effective. And Alan Mulally, who used to be the former CEO of Boeing and then went over to Ford, he has identified this appreciation gap or gratitude gap, and he recommends that CEOs or whatever boss, whatever level you're at, you spend 1 hour a week being grateful to people. And that just doesn't mean thinking about it. This is verbalizing it, walking around, sending thank you notes, whatever it is, an hour a week. So if you think you work 40 hours, 1 hour needs to be dedicated to others. But the beautiful thing is, this is part of your self-care. This is the things you can control. These are alternatives you can have to the bad customer service or a negative emotion, the collective splat felt by your customers and your employees. Gratitude changes everything, and you will feel change because you have expressed gratitude to everyone. So what are 3 things that you can do to help you with self-care or to reset where you're at right now with this pandemic, but in any kind of challenging situation? When I was living in Las Vegas and 9/11 came down, there was also a resetting. Again, one of those defining moments where the external world was reshaping what was internal. And you can either let that unfold naturally, or you can master that yourself and say, what can I manage? What can I do? And how can I thrive? And the way you can thrive is by these 3 things: taking care of yourself, understanding what makes your life work, and expressing gratitude to those around you. I'm going to open it up for questions right now. What questions do we have? And we may have exhausted the time. I'm sorry, because of the flub up with the presentation. Colleen, do we still have time for questions, or should we? Did I lose?
No, you sure did. I apologize. I had to sneeze, and I didn't want to, with everything that's been going on, I don't like to sneeze in front of anybody anymore because everybody looks at you funny.
That's right.
I guess we do have some time for Q&A. So if anybody would like to, I think this is a fairly reasonable group, so we could probably unmute to ask a question instead of operating in the chat box. So if anybody would like to do so, and I'll just scan again. Unfortunately, we're not using Slido tonight. We'll be kicking it back up for our AGM in September for voting. So.
Okay.
How do you find time? So you got to sleep 8 hours a day, and you got to exercise 8 hours a week, and you got to do an hour with each, you know, self-reflecting. Like how do you find the time of the day on top of taking care of kids and, you know, running the business and everything else?
Yeah, well, you begin to become very efficient with what you do. I haven't watched TV for probably 15 years. I'll watch a movie every now and again. And when I need to, you know, really exit where I'm mentally and have a escape, I will watch a movie, but I don't watch any TV. I read a book a week, and I usually get up. This week I had board meetings, so I was awake at 4:30, but generally I'm up at 5 o'clock and I go to bed at 11. And you know, it just, if you have purpose in your life, you do those things. But again, streamline, streamline, streamline. Now it's a beautiful, I have my groceries delivered to me. Wow, what a savings that has been. I have food sent to me from Fresh Prep. What a time saving that has been. So ask around, look around, and you will find ways to save time and become more efficient. And ask yourself, am I getting high ROI? I shared earlier today with a group, I'll share this quick strategy, and then maybe I just want to wrap up with the final story here. But if you take a piece of paper and fold it into 4 and number the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it comes on Sunday, you think about your 3 largest goals in life, or what 3 things that you need to accomplish, and you number your squares, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one. And so you list all the things that you need to do this week. And if it doesn't fit under 1, 2, and 3, their most important goals, if it fits under 4, that's the hole that will suck you away from accomplishing your goals. So anything that's in that 4th square, delegate, dump it, or do something else with it. But you focus on those 1, 2, and 3. And if you do that, you'll accomplish an awful lot more. Mm-hmm. And you have to make yourself a priority of that. Now I have to tell you what happened when I shared Control, Alt, Delete with the people that I was leading. Now that's a nice strategy for you to share with your colleagues, L to L, I call it leader to leader, when you share that. But what your staff and what your employees, and in my case, what my members are looking for is they want to know what the brave new world is. Although you can give them strategies to help in their life, you need to be able to share with them where you're going, the direction that you're going. So not just strategies for success now, but what will the brave new world look like? And if you had given yourself the time, the self-care that you needed, the what makes my life work, and the expression of gratitude, that will come to you, the brave new world, and where you need to take the people that you lead. Any other questions? All right, I think they've all been drinking a lot of wine and beer, Colleen.
Just so you know, Margaret, they're pretty quiet in person too.
Are they? Are they?
The Q&A needs to be led a little bit, so it's not you. Don't take it personally.
Well, okay, I'll say, so you've covered a lot here. So if we're talking about employees here, like what strategies, I'm not sure this related, have you found that helps them with what you just discussed? Because it seems as anyone who's sort of independent or business owner, some type of role where they naturally grow, if you're the, we'll say, traditional employee, what strategies do you help people with or recommend? Is that in line with this?
Well, sure. Well, you need to take care of yourself too. You need to
I
read.
do. I
Yeah.
understand it, but they just, this isn't a bad thing. They just think differently, right?
They think differently.
No, I just found the perspective is different. Like
Sure.
it's different. They're just, their view on things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not a negative thing. It's just a fact. So you have to approach them differently when you talk about work-life balance and these things. It's different.
Yeah, so the best thing you can do is listen, right? And your strategies that you've had that were successful, you can share that with them. But they still need to know the direction that you're taking the organization. But share your specific strategies in life. But most of all, listen to them. Most people just want to be listened to. And so when you do that, they'll feel valued and appreciated. We've come through a decade of employee disengagement, and that what the most that they want, their job hunting goes 2 years here, 2 years there. They need to feel like they belong. They need to feel like they're part of the community, and they need to feel that they're valued. And the best way you could do that is listen and then share your learnings with them. Be genuine, be sincere. If you're that kind of a leader with character, they will follow you anywhere.
Oh, that's a simple answer. Those are the best ones, though, sometimes. No, perfect. No, that's exactly. I'm sure a lot of people were thinking that too. So if anyone else has questions, go ahead.
I have a question in regards to, I appreciate the story you shared about your grandchildren in the beginning. And I think when you mentioned the word fear, collectively, how do we move forward with everything as far as businesses and schools? What would be a one sentence that you could give to us as a collective in being able to handle the fear?
Well, I think Bonnie Henry said it best: be kind, be safe. You know, the more we can be compassionate for all those employees, be compassionate for ourselves, be compassionate for our customers, and be safe. You know, I've been called on for radio stations all over Chicago, and the people were not wearing a mask, and other people were throwing food at them. People want to manage everyone else's life and dictate whatever else, but you just need to do your own reset and keep yourself safe and be kind to as many people as you can, and hopefully the world will, we're entering a new portal, and that kindness evolves out of that. I think as Canadians, we are going to do much better than many other countries and many other nations. But it is hard when you're wearing a mask and all you can see are eyes, and we're used to reading body language and having smiles and everything. We're missing out on that now when you go to the grocery store and people are, you know, so I get where you're exactly coming from, Rosemary. What can we do? And I think you in Langley have that opportunity to, you know, show kindness to others and show compassion and support each other. Mm-hmm. I think just saying kind words to each other makes a difference too, doesn't it? When you hear those, it's almost like the gratitude piece. When you hear it, it just makes you feel good. And if we could spread that along. It's sort of on this line, but not really on this line. You know, the Starbucks had this sort of, it's become a cult that you buy the coffee for the person behind you. And in some states, Georgia, I think they do it on Thursdays. It's just become tradition to do that. Well, in Russia, they did it for 11 hours straight. that one person bought the coffee for the person behind them, bought the coffee for the person for 11 hours. Can you imagine? And I think that's what we need, that kind of movement, that kind of spirit of community, given that we've had all this other, that we have to be 2 meters apart and we have to wear a mask and we can't smile, or, you know, we can, but it's harder with your eyes. And so let's find ways to do that together.
This is a perfect opportunity for me to segue to the Chamber's next sort of program that's opening up. We didn't have it ready to launch tonight because we're still working on some of the details, but we're actually launching #BeKindLangley. And we're going to be asking a lot of prominent business people in our community to do some videos. We're going to be putting out social media, just reminding people it's easy to be nice, it's easy to be kind, and especially to businesses as we're trying to reopen and move forward with the economy, that's one of the things we thought, just reminding the whole community that the grocery store clerk didn't make the new protocols. The waitress didn't say that you couldn't have more than 6 people at the table. Those rules are in place by other people and they're just doing their jobs. So we're going to be really doing a big push on just reminding people it's those simple little things that can really help. So watch for that in the next few weeks.
See, Langley, how progressive you are. You're already on the good thinking.
Well, we stole it from Bonnie Henry, let's be honest, but that's where we got the ideas. But it's as simple as that.
I spoke in Pakistan on Zoom calls. I spoke in Singapore, and I quoted Bonnie Henry. She's a cult hero. So bravo to her. I hope she gets the Order of Canada.
Well, if there's no further questions this evening, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Margaret. I've had the pleasure of working with Margaret off and on over the years. She was an icon of speakers and helped lead and actually taught one of my first Toastmaster courses way back when in Seychelles, when I first took it, when I first started with the Chamber then. So Margaret, thank you for coming on and exuding some words of wisdom and helping us all out. We really, really appreciate your time. I thank you very much. It was very nice to hear from you again. I would like to take this opportunity to again thank our sponsors. I know I sound like a broken record, but when you're a nonprofit organization that relies on events and sponsorship and you've been moved into a virtual world, when your sponsors stick with you, you want to give them a great big bear hug and thank them very much. So I would ask you, if you're picking up new items for your business and you have to jump out and grab some Lysol wipes, yes, she has them. You can get those kinds of things at Nico's, and it's again, a shop local, shop small, shop Langley. So I want to thank our board and everybody for coming out tonight. I'm just going to double check and make sure my script that there's nothing else I'm actually supposed to do, because I'm really good at that. I would also ask you to check out our website for upcoming events, webinars, AGM, golf, you name it. Thank you very much to everybody. Both of you everybody enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy some sunshine, and hopefully we'll see you at our one and only in-person event for 2020 moving forward, the golf tournament. Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.
Okay.